Morning, everyone. For our public hearing on Senate Bill number 475, or the National Reading Month, we would like to acknowledge our resource persons. From the Department of Education, we have Director Laila Ariola and Mr. Jerome Hilario. From the National Library of the Philippines, or NLP, we have Dr. Dolores Carungi and Dr. Blesila P. Velasco. From the National Book Development Board, we have Attorney Jane Blesilda Fabula. From the National Telecommunications Commission, or NTC, we have Engineer Jesus Ali. From the Philippine Book Publishing Development Federation, or PhilBook, we have Attorney Dominador D. Buhain Jr., together with Mr. Levi Espinosa and Mr. John Paul Velasco. From the Department of Budget and Management, we have Attorney Tricia Baraan. From the Philippine Normal University, we have Dr. Heidi Makahilig and Professor Nancy Ramores. From the Reading Association of the Philippines, or RAP, we have Dr. Rosaline Mirasol. From the Dito Telecommunity Corporation, we have Attorney Eleazar B. Oltado. We're still waiting for our representatives from EDCOM 2, DOF, and Smart Communications Incorporated. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Committee Secretary. Today we'll be tackling Senate Bill number 475, and the title of this bill is an act institutionalizing a National Reading Month in November of every year, providing for multi-stakeholder participation in the inculcation of a culture of reading in basic education, appropriating funds therefore and for other purposes. So this is a fairly less complicated bill compared to the other bills that we have considered in the past. And the title is self-explanatory. We aim to declare the month of November as the National Reading Month. And we also provided in the bill some activities that will improve and enhance the culture of reading in our country. And let me just show you a few slides that led us to this idea. Although I understand that this is not a completely new idea, the department has institutionalized the month of November as the National Reading Month through their various department orders. So this bill aims to institutionalize it once again through law, because as we all know, law has a much more firmer standing compared to a department order. But before that, let me just put into the record some of our rationale on why we push for this law. Just let me just show the slide on Phil Erie, and this is I think we're all familiar with this measure that we have seen in the past. In fact, when I was a mayor in Valenzuela, we also used this to determine the reading capabilities of our students. And in a perfect world, everyone is an independent reader, in a perfect world. So we have to strive to reach that everyone should be a perfect reader, should be an independent reader. The data here is a little bit old, 2018, 2019, but I understand that it has not yet the improvements that are not yet dramatic in that sense. But if you can see the number of independent readers in the last Phil ERI, or in the Phil ERI that was conducted 2018, 2019. Maybe DepEd can show us a much more recent number, but only 23% of our learners are considered independent readers. Um, and Even after the post test, only 35% of our students are considered independent readers. We still have some non-reader in school. This should not happen because they're in school. No? So the theory here is, if you're in school, everyone should be reading. But we have the majority comes from the frustrated and the instructional reading category, or reader category. So again, we have a lot of work to do in order to reach that independent reader capability. But at the same time, I think we all know what happened in the PISA results, where we came in last in reading out of the 77 participating countries. So let me just flash that slide. And if you look there, and if you go to the next slide, the rating that we got is about 340 in terms of proficiency, and that translates um, to 80% of our Filipino students. 80% of our Filipino students were not able to meet level 2 proficiency, the minimum proficiency level expected of a 15-year-old. So not only we ended up last in reading, but we also scored last, at least here in ASEAN. But also, if you look at the score and the translation of the score, it means that 80% of our students were not able to meet the minimum proficiency level expected of a 15-year-old. This is according to PISA. And then there's another measure that came out pre-pandemic and post-pandemic, and this is the infamous learning poverty, as we all know. And learning poverty is a metric that was used by the World Bank, and it measured 15-year-olds. Sorry, 10-year-olds. Where is it? No. And pre-pandemic level, in that study that World Bank presented, 69% of our students pre-pandemic cannot read or understand a simple story. And as we all know, again, no, the pandemic did a lot of damage during its onslaught. A lot of our schools were closed for a prolonged period of time, and that 69% jumped to about 90% of our 10-year-olds cannot read and understand a simple story. So there's so much work to be done, and I credit TEPED for embarking on a massive learning recovery program. And the recovery program is funded for 2024. And I understand that DepEd is also launching many programs that will enhance the interest of our students to learn, and most especially to read. So on top of that, we're any idea that will enhance our learners' desire to read is much appreciated. And one of the suggestions that we have seen is to institutionalize a month for reading, so that this month will be a symbol that government is very serious in pushing the culture of reading in our country. And in our law, in the proposed bill, we also included some activities there uh, that cuts across different departments. So it's a multi-departmental or a multi-agency activity. So we will not only focus on DepEd to push the culture of reading, but everyone especially the other government agencies will now be tasked in pushing the culture of reading. So, in a nutshell, that is the proposal, and would like to hear your thoughts on the proposed measure. Like I said, this measure is self-explanatory, hopefully not as complicated, but I would say the additional push uh, that will create that culture of reading is the primary aim of this measure. So with that, we invited several stakeholders to contribute their suggestions, and if you have any suggestions, if you have any opinion or any thoughts on the bill, feel free to let us know so we can include that in the measure. With that, we'll start off with the Department of Education. In this bill, even though it's multi-sectoral and multi-stakeholder, the Department of Education will be tasked to spearhead this bill. So we'll hear their thoughts on this bill, and we can move on to the other government agencies. So thank you very much. We call on DepEd for their comments.
Good morning, Honorable Senator Win and everyone present. So we have here a position paper emanating from the Bureau of Learning Delivery. But of course, I'd like to say that we're just so happy that you're coming up with this particular law, actually supporting the Reading Month celebration. As we all know, um, we already have a standing DepEd order on this, and that's DepEd Order 244. And this is also going to support the law, which provides the celebration of Araw ng Pagbasa on November 27. So, if you could allow me, sir, to read. So, the Department of Education, particularly the Bureau of Learning Delivery, supports the endorsement and subsequent enactment of Senate Bill number 475, known as the National Reading Month Act, a legislative initiative spearheaded, of course, by our Honorable Senator Win. So this proposed legislation serves as a pivotal reinforcement of Republic Act number 10556, also known as Araw ng Pagbasa, Act of 2023, which designates every 27th day of November as Araw ng Pagbasa. And this aligns seamlessly with the objectives outlined in DepEd Order number 244, series of 2011, proclaiming November as the National Reading Month annually. So with unwavering dedication, Senate Bill number 475 endeavors to institutionalize the observance of the National Reading Month in November each year, thereby nurturing a pervasive culture of reading within the foundations of basic education. So, as very well said in the bill serves as a timely response to the persistently low learner outcomes in basic education, as evidenced by international assessments and even in our own national assessments. As we all know, reading is an instructional tool, and it's really so important. I'll not mention here anymore the key provisions of the bill, and we're very happy of all these key provisions. But Mr. Chair, I'd like, particularly on the declaration, of course, of November as the National Reading Month, the DepEd as the implementing agency, and it's going to be a multi-stakeholder activity, and certainly in the celebration of this Reading Month, we really need to work with a lot of stakeholders who've got the stake in education, especially in improving the reading performance of our learners. We're happy of the discounts and book fare that are going to be that are included here, and free public access to DepEd online platform. And I'd like to mention that we're coming up with the Matatag portal, and it's here where we're going to upload a number of reading materials for our learners and that of our teachers also. And then the DepEd portal for reading donations and the mandatory review and impact assessment. Mr. Chair, way back in 2011, the Department of Education came up with the library hub. In fact, we have established library hubs already in a number of divisions and municipalities. If you could include the library hub in this particular bill, Mr. Chair, because the library hub is going to be a warehouse in strategic places where our schools can borrow. So it's not, the library hub is not exactly the same with that of a school library. The library hub is a warehouse where we can have a number of titles and where schools can just borrow in bins. In the original policy that we have on the use of the library hub, books can be borrowed for 25 days. So that those books can stay in school, learners can utilize them and then be returned, and and our schools may be borrowing another set of titles. In fact, Mr. Chair, if I were to share you, in 2024, for fiscal year 2024, we have already included in our budget something like 1.2 billion for SLRs. These are supplementary reading materials for our learners. And that is also in support to the national reading program that we have. And aside from those reading materials, there's also an amount of 1 billion for the establishment of library hubs in 72 identified areas, which are still on validation uh, s- by the school furniture and facilities strand in the Department of Education. So I'd like to end by saying that the Senate Bill 475 presents a promising framework for the establishment of the National Reading Month. While admiring the positive aspects of the bill, we propose constructive enhancement to further strengthen its impact. We urge the esteemed members of Congress to support the immediate passage of this bill, recognizing the potential to transform our education landscape and empower future generations with the invaluable gift of reading. And hopefully, our learners and even us adults will get to develop the genuine love for reading. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Director Yola. Um, just basic questions, no? So we can enrich the records, and we're actually looking for some materials and research on this. Why is November the National Reading Month? Why did DepEd choose November as the National Reading Month? We understand that it's not an international declaration. Unless anyone will have that information. We looked at we scoured the internet and we couldn't find any information as to why November. And we were also trying to look at some UN declaration or declaration of international organizations on reading and developing a culture of reading, but we couldn't find any international declarations. No? So unless anyone can give us some idea, we'll be open to hearing that. But I would like to just ask some basic. No, why November? I talked to some people. They suggested to make it June so that it's before classes. So people, students will be uh, will be immersed in reading before they go to classes. So different people will have different suggestions, but I would like to ask DepEd on why June was selected as the national reading.
November.
November was selected as National Reading Month.
Actually, Mr. Chair, this is contained actually in DepEd Order number 244, particularly paragraph 2. However, I saw it also in we'll just open po in Republic Act 10533, and it coincides with the an NBDB activity. So that in DepEd Order number 244, open na. It says here that the National Reading Month shall culminate in the nationwide Araw ng Pagbasa National Reading Day on November. Actually, in 244 is November 25, and this will coincide with the week of the celebration of the birth anniversary of the late Senator Benigno Aquino, on November 27, and commemoration of the 20th year of the signing of RA 7165 by former President Corazon Aquino, creating the Literacy Coordinating Council on November 25. However, in RA 105 10566.
566.
Oo. It coincides, Mr. Chair, with a celebration, particularly of the National Book Week of the NBDB. I'll try to take a look on it, Mr. Chair. So here, if I may read, Mr. Chair. Wala.
10533.
10-5, hindi na.
66.
Ito yung, hindi, yung, so I'll get that po. 10, yung araw ng pabasa.
There's no right or wrong answer in this, but I'm just, we just want to enrich the record so that students like those guys, when they look at the records, they'll understand why November. We
It's-
just don't want to pull it out of thin air. So
Where's that? Nakita kayo na.
it seems to me, based on our records, the idea of a breeding culture started in 1936.
Yeah.
When President Manuel L. Quezon signed Proclamation 109, designated the third week of November, beginning 1937 as the National Book Week. So that is, based on our research, that seems to be the source of the idea on creating a national reading month. So, and then I think it obviously throughout the years, through different administrations, it had different iterations, but that seems to be the source of that idea, and the other resource persons can probably join in on this later on. So, in my opinion, by tradition, it became November. And there's also another. Based on our research again, there's also another comment. I think this is when during the administration of President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo, she moved the Philippine Book Month from June to November, starting 2008. And the reason for that is because DepEd is assigned to implement this Philippine Book Development Month, or at least that group of DepEd. And June is the busiest time for DepEd. So she said, let's move it to November so that DepEd will not be pressured or not be assigned with too many things to do in the month of June. So that's another logic why November became the traditional month for books and for reading. I don't know if you agree with that, Director Ayola. Yeah. So that basically gives us some idea on why November became the National Book Month, and at the same time, in your statement earlier, in DepEd Order 244, number 2 here, it cites two reasons why it's also retained as November. Number one is the birth anniversary of the late Senator Benigno Ninoy Aquino on November 27, 2000, and on November 27, and the commemoration of the signing of the Literacy Coordinating Council on November 25. So seems to me that there's that confluence, of significant dates. That's why it was retained by DepEd on the month of November. And at the same time, we also have a law. This is the only law that pertains to reading, and this is Republic Act number 10556, an act declaring every 27th day of November as araw ng pagbasa, a regular working holiday. That's November 27th. So, in other words, this is a confluence or a gathering of all different relevant dates in November. And I think my thoughts on this, DepEd made those reasons as the basis for declaring November as the National Reading Month. No? So just to enrich the record so that those people who will be reading the record will understand why we continued to make it November. Um, and may I ask DepEd, no, since we have already a law, no, 10556, uh, how do we merge the two ideas of creating a reading month and also the araw ng pagbasa, because the araw ng pagbasa is already a law, no? And this committee has no intention of amending, repealing, changing that law, no? But when we enact another law declaring the whole month, we want to be guided by DepEd and of course some ideas from the other stakeholders on how to make this harmonious. No? How do make this what is your suggestion to make these two laws harmonious now? Because if this bill becomes a law, we have a month and then you have a day. So how do you make it harmonious in terms of commemorating it and also in terms of activities?
Mr. Chair, for this particular proposal that we have, particularly institutionalizing the National Reading Month, this is already the month-long celebration of the National Reading Month, and the Araw ng Pagbasa, which has already a law, can be a culminating activity for this particular month-long celebration, Mr. Chair.
I think that's in line also with DepEd Order 244.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
It's written here that the National Reading Month shall culminate in the nationwide Araw ng Pagbasa, which is RA 10556. No? And in terms of activities, just give us some idea, Director Ariola, how do you what are the activities that you just examples? No, I know that it's written here, but just examples on how DepEd celebrates the National Reading Month and how it culminates. What are the culminating activity on November 27?
Let me start, Mr. Chair, with particularly how we're celebrating the National Reading Month. We usually do a kick-off program, and it usually happens. We usually take the lead at the central office. We usually do it online. However, schools have their own celebrations. For the But if you're asking, Mr. Chair, for the for the araw ng for the araw ng pagbasa only, then we usually invite reading ambassadors to do storytelling for kids. At the central office, through our social media accounts, we have recorded storytelling sessions by our executive members, our deputy officials. At the school level or even in the division level, we also invite the local government unit officials or whoever are have the stake, or whoever is an advocate of reading. Even parents can be reading ambassadors. Even children, the learners themselves can be reading ambassadors among learners.
Thank you, Director Ariola. Well, I'll come back to you later on and like to do the rounds and call the other resource persons. They might have some ideas, and you can also, aside from expressing your opinion on the bill, if you have any answers to the questions that I posed earlier, just feel free to let us know. So we'll start off with the National Library of the Philippines, Dr. Dolores Karungi.
Thank you, Honorable Senator Win. The National Library of the Philippines is, of course, excited and grateful for this bill because this will be a month-long celebration. Though we are already celebrating, Honorable Chairperson, the Library and Information Services Month every November also by virtue of Proclamation number 837 series of 1991. This bill is focused on reading promotion among children. If I am allowed, I would like to read the position paper submitted by our director, Cesar Gilbert Q. Adriano. The National Library of the Philippines recognizes the need for developing the habit and inculcating the culture of reading among the Filipino people, especially the youth. On this account, the NLP strongly supports the enactment of Senate Bill number 475. As the NLP implements the mandate of Republic Act 7743, an act providing for the establishment of public libraries in the Philippines, we are moving forward to centralization of public libraries throughout the country by means of an affiliation process in order to effectively facilitate learning and advance literacy and culture in every community. The centralization involves nationwide participation of affiliated public libraries in programs and activities of the National Library of the Philippines. These are directed to stimulate the desire of the people to acquire knowledge and skills. By virtue of Proclamation number 837 series of 1991, the NLP celebrates the Library and Information Services Month every November, a yearly event that organizes a series of activities to recognize the significance of public libraries and information centers in the community. In this celebration, a variety of interesting and rewarding contests, exhibits, and programs are conducted to captivate more library users and visitors. The event aims to infuse the use of libraries as customary in everyday life. The observance of National Book Week pursuant to Proclamation number 109, series of 1936, is also a part of the Library and Information Services Month celebration. It advocates a widespread interest in reading books and makes reading a habit. Likewise, the NLP commemorates the World Read Aloud Day every February to encourage everyone to tell stories. In this manner, it develops communication skills and enhances social interaction in the community. Accordingly, the proposed bill is in line with the undertakings of NLP, and the declaration of the National Reading Month intensifies and reinforces the objectives of aforesaid events. In view of the foregoing, the NLP affirms its absolute support to the Senate Bill number 475. So we've been doing a series of activities already in line with the promotion of love for books and reading, and this promotional activities on reading is already part, Senator, of the programs of the NLP through our children's section. And with me here is the Chief of the Public Libraries Division of NLP, because NLP as a cultural agency also affiliates public libraries in the country, and then we provide technical support to these public libraries for them to have a program focusing on reading promotion among children in the grassroots level.
Thank you, Dr. Dolores. Well, traditionally, libraries have been the source of materials or books for people who want to gain more information, gain more knowledge. Aside from our traditional textbooks, aside from the books that we get from our schools, if people want to gain more knowledge, they either go to a bookstore and buy books or library if they don't want to spend money. No? And I think historically and traditionally that has been the modality. However, now it's changing. No, to be honest about it, the younger generation, siguro yung mga batang doon, I've if you ask them, I bet they haven't been to a library. No, but they've all used Google, di ba? No, ngayon siguro Chat GPT na. No, yeah. So my point there is the world is evolving. No? Personally, I'm in favor of library for two reasons. Number one, it's a venue for students to get together, to share knowledge. Human interaction is also very important, and so that's one of the reasons why I'm in favor of library, and also for nostalgic reason. No? I think we should maintain that visual of books that is accessible to the public. But realistically, no, realistically, the people who use books are really dwindling, becoming lesser and lesser. No? So the point I'm making is in the bill. No, I when I was reading the bill, I feel like it's not in tune with the times. No, the one that we proposed, because we have to be realistic that the world now is becoming digital. No, everything is digital, and everything is instant. No, if you want instant knowledge, you get your phone, you type Google, and that's it. No, you get all the knowledge. No, so how do you fuse that digitalization and the digital habit into the bill? No? And how do we fuse that digital habit to access to libraries? No? How do we put that in the bill? In your opinion? Uh,
Thank you, Honorable Chair. So in the library side, we do not really detest this rapid change of technology. But then what we do as librarians is that we we try to shift from a book based, though we do not totally disregard the book based type of storytelling, but we try to um, conduct storytelling through the use of technology, through tablets, for us to be able to entice the kids to really listen on the stories when we conduct such activities in delivering stories to children. So we do not detest the rapid change of technology, but we are trying to um, uh, change the services, the traditional services of the library to make it more responsive to the evolving needs of our users.
you also have online publications, like for example, an online
So-
catalog. Right before, I remember when I was a student, nung mga kasing edad ko yan, yung mga nasa likod natin, I would really go to a library. In fact, if I remember, um, my thesis were all based on books talaga, no? Because Google wasn't so accessible at that time, no? So I know how to go to a library, talk to the librarian, get books, and then and I know the whole process. But right now, everything's online, no? So is the National Library um, publishing their books digitally so that the public can access it? Is that a service that is available from the National Library?
Yes, Honorable Chair, we do have already online, we call that online public access catalog, and it's accessible via the website, not only NLP, but other libraries, be it academic, school, or even the public libraries that has internet and computers.
Is that for
So,
free?
yes, Senator.
Okay.
Yeah, we provide it for free. And through this online public access catalog, they can also access the digital copies of resources that they want to search. And for kids, we also have some electronic resources that are readily available for them to.
And how
you know.
many books or how many materials have you digitalized and uploaded? Do you have any idea? So just ballpark lang, ballpark lang.
Yeah, more or less in terms of pages, we have, I hope not that the statistics is right, more or less 1 M.
1 million pages.
We are
So
referring
may
to
mga, let's say,
pages, Senator.
10,000 books. Do we have 10,000 books?
Yeah,
More or
10,000
less.
books. Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Now,
More
the
than
reason
that.
for that, maybe we can include that as a proposal in the bill to have access to that online catalog, no? So that in the celebration of this month, access to online catalog will be available. No?
On top of this resources that we have at NLP, Senator, we also have a lot of free databases on children's books that we can share also to the public.
Okay, and that's available online as well.
Online.
Okay,
Yes.
all right. And how many in your system, in your um, in the NLP system, how many libraries are there? you know?
I'd like my colleague to answer that
Yes,
because
go ahead,
he's the
Dr.
one
Velasco. And how many
responsible for
libraries are
that.
there in the Philippines?
Yeah.
I know that NLP is a system, tama? I think you manage different libraries, no? If I'm
Yes,
not
sir.
mistaken.
We are a cultural agency under the umbrella of the National Commission for Culture and the Arts, and then we affiliate public libraries in the
Yes,
country.
and then there's also independent libraries, correct?
Yes,
Run by
Senator.
LGUs, run by schools, run by
The schools run by, of course, the Department
the
of
department.
Education, academic libraries run by the state universities and even private universities. We also have special libraries run by offices,
Yeah.
and the public libraries is being affiliated by the National Library of the
Okay.
Philippines.
And do we have an inventory on how many libraries are there in the Philippines?
Uh,
Tayo?
Dr.
Yes,
Bless?
Dr. Velasco, go ahead.
Good morning, Senator Gatchalian. As of November 2023, there are 1,660 affiliated public libraries with the National Library of the Philippines. 56 provincial, 3 congressional, 3 locally funded projects. Their budget of this 3 locally funded projects is from Department of Budget and Management. And then 1 regional in ARM, 116 cities, including Valenzuela City Library, 611 municipal, and 870 barangay reading centers.
These are the 1,600 are government,
Uh,
mostly government.
Public
Oh,
libraries.
public libraries are.
There are 4 types of libraries: special, public, academic, and school.
In total, how many libraries do we have? If we add all of those 4 different categories, do we have that number?
We do not have that number. We
Okay.
are only mandated for the public
Public.
libraries.
And the other 3 types, they're not accessible to the public. For example, the academic.
We can still have an access because through collaboration, Senator, we can have a free access to these types of libraries because
Okay.
that's what the National Library do.
Like for example, like Senate, may library dito eh. We have Senate library
Yes,
eh.
we do have a
Oo,
library here.
but I'm sure it's not hindi accessible, no? It's not accessible to the public.
It varies, Senator, on the internal policies of the offices, but I
Mhm.
think with some internal arrangement among agencies, specifically if it's agency to agency, this is possible because we do this already in academic libraries, even private universities.
So what I'm driving at is, I'm thinking of including some form of access, no, in the
Yeah.
bill, so that we're not only promoting, but we're also helping to improve access to materials, both
Mhm.
digital materials and
Yeah.
both
Print.
print materials, no, so that the promotion is holistic. No? So that's what I'm driving at.
Yeah.
All right.
Actually, for a special library, Senator, like the Senate Library, we can provide reading promotion activities among kids of the employees. Yeah. So that's it. We do not have to focus on those kids enrolled in the schools only, but even those who are not in the school can have access to these information resources.
Thank you. Director Ariola, you're
So if I may share, Mr. Chair, actually for the Department of Education, we're conducting storybook writing contest, and these stories are being published in the portal, the DepEd portal, and are made available to our learners. And then in terms of online materials, we're in partnership actually with Microsoft, and there are reading kiosks stationed in some schools. So that's where our children can just get in and read stories online. So they're even provided some questions to at least improve their comprehension skills. So there's the reading progress actually is being supported by this reading kiosk in schools.
Thank you. Thank you, Director Ariola. We'll go to NBDB, Attorney Fabula. Jean Fubula, any comments?
Good morning, Mr. Chair, and good morning to our attendees. And first of all, we would like to apologize because we have not submitted a position paper. However, we commit to submit position paper to properly articulate our agency's position to this bill. But we welcome the efforts of the Committee on Basic Education in coming up with this bill, since this is a nod to our agency's mandate to promote readership among our young and our neo-literates. In fact, just to share, we have been conducting programs in promoting the culture of readership to our population. We have book nook sites across the Philippines. We have 300 reading centers. The Book Nook is a reading center. So we partner with LGUs, with schools, and then we provide books uh, so that the children or those areas that do not have libraries can have access to books. We also provide incentives in regional book fairs. We have Iloilo Book Fair, we have Mindanao Book Fair, we have Bicol Book Fair, and we also provide incentives to exhibitors in the MIBF, Manila International Book Fair. And also, we conducted just recently the Philippine Book Festival. It is a programmatic venue or avenue um, for our publishers and our exhibitors to showcase and their published books, and also a way for our children to enjoy these books. We have reading corners during the book festival. Also, we are also providing incentives to our publishers who are joining that book festival. Also, Mr. Chair, if ever this bill will be enacted, it is also a good nod since the Philippines will be hosting the Frankfurt book fair in 2025. The Philippines is the guest of honor uh, at the oldest and largest book fair in the world. So it will be held at Frankfurt, Germany. So this program is going to be a good avenue to promote readership, and we also believe that through good culture of readership, the book publishing industry will be able to provide we'll be able to provide good reading materials, not just your learning materials, but your children's books or novels, because a good culture of readership encourages our authors and publishers to produce more good quality books. So that would be all for share.
I'll pose the same question, no, to that I posed to NLP, digitalization. So, the NBDB law is focused on the print aspect, no?
Yes.
But how do you now adapt to the new the new world, which is digitalization, and how do you encourage publishers to go digital? And how do you also improve access to the public? Because right now, like I said earlier, everything's digital now. Even me, I download books. Of course, I pay. No, I pay the books and the materials, the magazines, but it's more convenient, accessible, and it's also you can do it anywhere at any time. No, and the world, in my opinion, will go that direction. It's really just a matter of how fast. So, how does MBDB adapt to the changing digital world? No?
Well, admittedly, Mr. Chair, as of the moment, we do not have existing programs that would support digitalization of our books. Also, our stakeholders, the publishers, also have concerns regarding digitalization because there are concerns of copyright infringement. We need to develop guidelines first on how to uh, protect their copyright. Because in digitalization, there's a tendency to um, get uh, copies or digital copies of books. Um, it it uh it promotes, or there's a tendency for these copies of books to be distributed without properly compensating our publishers and authors. So I guess with that we need a more comprehensive guidelines for that.
This is for another topic. In fact, we plan
Yeah.
to conduct an oversight over the MBDB and its mandates, to con- to inquire whether MBDB's mandate is in line with the changing world, no? And I see opportunities also for digital books, no? Like I said, no, my experience with digital books is the same with hard copies or hard printed books. I pay for the books, except it's digital. It's delivered digitally. I have subscriptions as well. So my experience is pretty much the same as when I was using printed magazines and printed books. No? But we have to realize that uh, first we have to protect the people who are printing the books. We have to protect the writers and the authors of the books, and we have the laws, enough laws that protect them. No? But that's a subject on a later topic. No? But we want to get your opinion on the bill and how MBDB can help in the promotion of the culture of reading.
Uh, well, Mr. Chair, as I've said, we have existing programs. So we would suggest to integrate these programs or promote these programs during the National Reading Month. Um, Also, since the conduct of book fairs, probably not just, although we understand that the National Reading Month, there's like a large book fair, but all throughout the year, we are also conducting book fairs. So it would be nice if there's also a support for that as well.
Thank you, Attorney. We'll call on, we're joined by the chairman and president of the Philippine Book Publishing Development Federation, PhilBook. We're joined by Attorney Buhain. And may we get your opinion, sir, on the measure that is being proposed and also some suggestions in the promotion of the culture of reading.
Good morning, Senator. Thank you so much for inviting inviting us. And at the outset, we would like to express our thanks and that we are amenable to the proposed bill with regards to this designation of the month of November, as well as the granting of discount and what they call this on the inclusion and the DepEd portal about reading, etc., and other tax incentives, and all the other provisions. We do not interpose objection to the same, and that at this juncture only, Senator, we are at the stage of soliciting the affirmation of all the other association. That's why, although we submitted a tentative position paper, we need the ratification of all the other association. But I believe it will not. They would be amenable. What can I just include, Senator, about? It just came out of my when I'm here already about the grossly disproportionate ratio between the export of books compared to the imported materials. I think we produce only 3% or 5%, and that we import 97%. And if there would be some revision to our position paper, we would like to include that, Senator, about the inculcation of what do you call this, patriotic ideals, the what do you call this, the heroes, etc. Because we might as well instill nationalism in the production of titles. We have plenty of materials, but most of them are foreign authored materials. And hopefully, if this could form part of the proposed bill, that we should give preferential attention to the Filipino authored materials, it would be of great help, Senator, in the instilling love of country, and hopefully they will be encouraged and they'll be inspired to read more about things which are within their immediate concerns, etc. Instead of reading materials which we don't, which wala tayong masyadong materials ngayon coming from the outside. And maybe I can tap the, can I can I give support from my staff about maybe they could say something about.
Yeah, yes, go ahead, sir. You can, we can add one more seat, Secretariat. So,
Uh, Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, sir. As Attorney Buhain expressed, Mr. Senator, while we are yet to get the ratification of the members, association members of Philbook, we do not oppose the granting of discount for sales of any reading materials but during the month of November. However, we would like to raise some concerns. The first one is that we would like to request that the publishers be given the free hand to assign discounts to reading materials as long as they are not lower than 20%. The second concern we would like to raise, Mr. Chairman, is that is there a possibility of the Department of Education, LGUs, schools, and those who usually do their procurement of textbooks earlier, prior to the school year, moving it to the month of November? So we see this as a concern. There may be a tendency for some to delay their procurement process and procure everything during the month of November so that they can avail of the discount. So this poses a really big challenge to the publishing industry. We would really have to plan well for this. Ensuring the availability of supply is one issue. And then the second one is there may be a certain level, a volume of purchasing that can be that the publishing industry can take as far as giving 20% discount is concerned. Now, we would like to inquire, will the bill or will the committee consider giving tax exemption benefits for sales of textbooks during the month of November? Okay. Another suggestion that we would like to make, Mr. Senator, is on the DepEd portal for reading donations and on the tax incentives. The bill proposes, of course, that donations made for reading purposes during the month of November be entitled to tax deduction benefits as stipulated in the Internal Revenue Code. May we ask, can the donations made for this program be entitled to the same tax benefits provisioned in the Adopt a School program that gives yeah. Ayan. Okay. And another suggestion and clarification, Mr. Chairman, is that do we see the need to clarify what types of reading materials that would be entitled for discount. I mean, we really, as of the moment, as Attorney Buhayan has mentioned, we don't have really the full vote of the association members, but we would like to inquire on that. Would textbooks be classified as reading materials eligible for the 20% discount? And of course, with the termination of that comes the consideration of the possibility that I've just mentioned of procurement of textbooks may move during the month of November. That would be all, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, I know that the discounts might be complicated to implement. No, I was asking for DTI to join us just to shed light. We will study this. I know it's very complicated. Like for example, trying to imagine how to operationalize this. Like for example, when they go to a bookstore, will the bookstore offer the discount or will the publisher offer the discount? No, so we need to iron that out. No, so um, and then how do you enforce it? Who will enforce it? Is it DTI who will enforce it? Is it the LGU who will enforce it? So we need to study this carefully. No, but the philosophy out of this is to encourage people to buy books. No? That is the philosophy out of it. So that um, in the promotion of the culture of reading, they will be encouraged to buy books because there are discounts. No? And we welcome suggestions from the book publishing group. How do we enforce it? But we need to study the enforcement side. The concept side is easy, no, it's sound. But the operationalization side is we need to study it carefully. And we welcome suggestions from the industry on how to enforce it. Can the industry, let's say limit it, let's say lang, let's say reading books, no? Not naman all types of books, no? Books that are, let's say, novels or fiction or non-fiction books will be entitled to, let's say, a 10 to 20% discount, no? Or students, I think students, may mga student discounts, no? Since this is DepEd, kung may student ka, you can present your student ID and to get discounts, no? So we're open to suggestions on how to operationalize it. It also, in a way, will help the publishing industry sell their books during the month of November. No? So that's the intention. No? So we welcome suggestions. No? Director Ariola, are you?
I'm just so excited of the discount, Mr. Chair, because I used to buy books. Baka if we could figure out how they're doing with for example, the National Women's Month celebration where discounts are also given in malls, the civil service. Baka pwede yun, Mr. Chair. And most likely, it would be just the stores offering discounts. Because we won't be buying in bulk anyway. So most probably 1, 2, 3 sets. Thank you.
We can narrow it down. No? For
Yeah.
example, for loosely lang, for a purchase of 3 or 4 books or purchase of, let's say, 10,000 pesos, you get X discount. No, something to that effect. No, we're open to that. But the philosophy there is to really encourage people to go to a bookstore and to buy. No, in line with the promotion of the culture of reading. No? Yes, Director. Yola.
If I may add, Mr. Chair, that's also encouraging our learners even to be going to the store, to bookstore and buy their own. So just a book most likely is a very good investment ng mga bata. Yeah. Thank you.
We want to retain this provision. It's just how to enforce it. No? And we need the support of MBDB and the book publishing industry in how to support it. Like loosely, I'm loosely thinking, for example, basic education students, they get discounts kasi may ID naman sila. Or college students, tertiary education students, basta student ka, no? Or teachers, Diba? Something to that effect. No? Something to that effect. And then the general public, maybe they get X amount of discount. No? So help us narrow it down so it will be implementable, we can operationalize it.
Senator.
Yeah, Attorney Fabula and then si Dr. Dolores.
Yes, Mr. Chair. With that, it's easy to implement during book fairs. So perhaps we can do it there. But Mr. Chair, we have to get the opinion of our stakeholders first on this.
Yeah, give us your opinion on that. No? Yeah, Dr. Dolores.
Yes, Mr. Chair, since we are talking about discounts, I am just curious if this would also be applicable to libraries that purchases books because yeah. Yeah.
Question really
Though
for the readers rather than
yes,
institutions.
because we purchase, Senator, by bulk.
Yeah.
Not for the government libraries, we follow the procurement law, but other libraries, they do have some mechanisms on purchasing books, and I'm curious if this would also be applicable to libraries that purchase bulk collections for their libraries.
The intention here is more for readers, the individuals. So institution, we're not contemplating to include institutions or institutional purchase. No? Because what we want to promote here is the individuals to read books, especially basic education students. No? So that's the direction. All right. So yeah, please submit to us a position paper on that, and we have a technical working group, so we have time to narrow it down. So we call on Dr. Thris Bustos, who's representing the EDCOM for any of her comments.
Okay, magandang umaga po. So the Basic Education Subcommittee supports the bill, particularly because the bill aligns with the EDCOM priority areas of complementarity between public and private education, as well as the decentralization and participatory governance. We think that the establishment of reading centers will provide students, access to books, because we found that in many research that not everybody really has access to books, and access to books is very important in the development of literacy. Now, however, I think we need to be able to streamline some of the dates. September 8th is International Literacy Day. And if we look at Proclamation 1886 in 1979, September 8th is National Literacy Day. So today I found that November 27 is also Araw ng Pagbasa, which is RA 10556. So a bit of trivia. So the decision to make September 8 the International Day of Literacy, it was made by UNESCO. That decision was declared on November 17, 1965. So another allusion to November. But then the celebration is supposed to be September 8. So in the past, we have been celebrating all of these activities concerning literacy in September. So with this bill, are we moving the events to November? So that's one. And then we might have to subscribe to a bigger definition of what literacy or reading is, because reading per se would be interacting with the written text. Is that what we are celebrating, or are we celebrating the use of oral and written language in different domains, which covers now this idea of literacy? And I think your concerns earlier that you have posed with the other resource persons actually allude more to literacy than to reading per se. So I think ma'am from the Reading Association of the Philippines should be able to shed more light on that.
Very good question, Dr. Thris. First is the date, no? And then we should also enrich the record by distinguishing the intention. Are we talking about literacy or are we talking about reading? No? And then later on, we'll we're joined here by the Reading Association of the Philippines, and they can enlighten us on that. No, but on the dates, that's a very good point, and the intention is to have just 1 month of reading. The September 8th, is that a? I know it's you mentioned earlier it's an International Literacy Day declaration. But
Yes, it's international, but
was
also
that
there's a presidential proclamation
okay?
in
There's an
1979.
okay, okay, all right. And how is it? How is that celebrated, or what are the activities in the Literacy Day?
I'd pass on
Yeah,
the
go ahead,
microphone to
Dr. Makahilig of the PNU.
Sorry. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Mr. Senator. We're actually sharing the same thoughts here. We're talking about the International Literacy Day, and actually, we're also celebrating the National Literacy Month in the month of September. We're in activities similar to what is stated in the proposed bill is also being done. However, for many schools, both private and public, they're also celebrating the National Literacy Month. Similarly, they're doing reading activities, reading programs, contests, and many other things. No, but this time, as what Dr. Bustos has mentioned, it goes beyond the interaction with the text. It's literacy in general. And I think when you are talking about technology, digital texts, and everything. That covers now a more updated definition of reading, I think. So I think actually I also have the same question. If it's actually allowed for us to ask question, is it really good to put the celebration of the Reading Month in November and have a different celebration for Literacy Month in September? Or can we just, celebrate the National Literacy Month as how it is intended with the National Reading Month? It's just that it's going to be what mas ano siya, mas concentrated siya, mas emphasized siya, no? So that there will be no redundancy, I think.
It's a very good point, and that's also one of our internal discussions: how to align all of these dates, no, so that stakeholders will not be confused. And we're doing many things. So that's a very good point that you raised. But before I answer that, let me hear comments from Dr. Mirasol of the Reading Association of the Philippines, and maybe you can also give us your thoughts on that angle of literacy and reading, and there are 2 months now, being proposed.
Sound check. Good morning, Mr. Senator, and everybody here in the room. But first, I'd like to say thank you for inviting us, and I'm very glad that we have the opportunity to share our 2 cents. And thank you, Ma'am Hazel, for communicating with us. Should I answer first, or I raise some points with the proposed bill?
You can raise points in the proposed bill, and then you can
Okay,
go
thank
on
you.
to
Thank you,
answering
Mr.
some of the issues.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Senator. Because I understand that the bill is on the celebration of National Reading Month, and I can see that there is very good basis on why we should celebrate Reading Month. I'm looking at page number 2 and number 3 of your proposed bill, Mr. Senator, and your rationale is highly concentrated on the results of international tests. And I think one of the significant findings, although it's not in the news and it's not in the conferences that I attended po, one of the significant findings of the Southeast Asian Primary Learning Metrics, it's on number 2 of your page 3, is that it's only in the Philippines that teachers do not have a training on how to teach reading. That's part of the CPLM. And you can trace, no, you can probably your staff can do some research on that. And if we cannot develop the love for reading for our teachers, I think we need to focus it in the bill. And I respectfully suggest if we can do a specific section on the bill about teaching training. And second, may I respectfully also request Your Honor to, we need, I think, to strengthen the collaboration of the Department of Education, which is the basic education, and also the Commission on Higher Education. I understand that the bill is on basic education, but there is, you see, I've been training teachers from Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao, because I'm the president of the Reading Association of the Philippines, and we conduct it for free. Now, the grassroots level, they would really tell us that they don't have actual experience, no, how to teach reading scientifically. And we've been to Marawi Mindanao State University Marawi campus in their integrated laboratory school, and we were very happy that Rex, with Attorney Buhain and Sir Levi supporting us by giving reference materials, and we found out, Mr. Senator, that the teachers there do not actually even aware of what phonemic awareness is. And as a kinder or grade 1 teacher, for us reading advocates, it's a mortal sin not to know that, because that's primary, one of the components of reading instruction. Therefore, Mr. Senator, there is really a need to look into the curriculum in terms of integrating the teaching of reading. If, because I graduated from the Philippine Normal University with a degree of Doctor of Philosophy in Reading, Mr. Senator, that's the only time that I realized the science of reading. Meaning to say, all teachers, and I guess my advisor of my dissertation would agree, all teachers may not necessarily know how to teach reading scientifically. And so, Mr. Senator, I respectfully suggest, on behalf of Philippine Normal University and the Reading Association of the Philippines, to also include a specific section on the teaching of reading. Because we cannot inculcate, no, amongst the students how to love reading if teachers do not know how to, no, develop that habit. And it's also important, Mr. Senator, to look at the monitoring of Reading Hub at the barangay level. Because I live in a not so rich barangay, and so I see that our leaders there may not have the concentration on how to teach or probably on how to inculcate, no, within the kids there the love of reading. So I think it has to be triangulated. We look at the reading at home, the community, and the school level. Okay. And so if I may raise points about what literacy is and what reading is, let me just inform you, my dear Senator, that RAP is a national affiliate of International Literacy Association. So formerly, ILA is known as the International Reading Association, because we recognize the fact that reading is not anymore learning from the print or extracting meaning from the print. They move on now with the word literacy. And so we celebrate International Literacy Association every September 8th to respond to the challenges of literacy. Now, RAP, we celebrate that by giving reading interventions to teachers. We explicitly teach them how to teach reading and intervention programs or projects. And RAP is very active on that. I'm sure we partnered with the National Library of the Philippines, with the National Book Development Board with their Book Nook, We actually teach the book nook sites, no? Volunteer literacy advocate of NBDB nationally. We give training. I gave it personally. And we also partner with Rex Education because we believe that the the fight for literacy is not just a one-side fight. It's a holistic fight. And so to answer your query, when we say reading, it's extracting meaning from the print. But we realize that, no, we realize that reading is not highly concentrated on printed materials. It's more. And so I agree with Dr. Bustos and Dr. Makahilig about looking at the definition of reading and literacy in the bill. That's all, Mr. Senator.
Intention is to promote that habit of reading, and to make it as simple as possible to implement, because what we want to target are the students. No? So that is the intention of the bill. That's why we are just focusing on the habit of reading, in this bill, because we want to cascade it down to our learners, basic education learners. Of course, we can tap also out of school youth. So this type of people and learners that we are targeting. So we that's why we are simplifying it to just the culture of reading. Now, the literacy portion is much more complex. No, it's a much more complex activity, and that demands many complex activities as well. No, so it's not only just it's just an act of reading a book. No, there are many things that involves in terms of improving literacy. That's why in this bill we just concentrated on just reading. But yes, Dr. Makahilig, and then Dr. Rosalyn again. No?
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Senator. Yeah, actually, in my notes here, no, I have also written down the reiteration of it takes a village to educate the child. So that's actually the very purpose of the proposed bill itself. However, what I noticed is that it focuses mainly on DepEd and the DepEd's role in implementing the bill. Yeah, I think in line with what Dr. Mirasol has mentioned earlier, no, um, we should also include as part of the implementers, I think DILG, wherein for every local government unit, they have a school board. And I went around the country as a member of the TWG of the LCC. And I noticed that not all LGUs actually have their own libraries. Uh, but of course, the good ones, no, the ones who are the awardees in the NLA would have libraries in every barangay in their cities, no. Pero you will not see that in many LGUs all over the country. So I think if we're going to include LGUs, no, in the implementation of this, that would make it, I think, more viable, as well as, of course, the HEIs, no, with the HEIs, specifically the TEIs, wherein, of course, we need to enhance the capacities of future teachers in teaching reading. As what my colleague here has messaged me earlier, no, it's actually our observation as well as we go around the country training teachers that even teachers have dwindling interest in reading. So I think we should also focus on not only basic education learners but even college learners and future teachers and the teachers themselves. No, I think the campaign for making reading a habit among every Filipino should be, of course, like that, no? Para sa lahat ng Pilipino, hindi lamang para sa mga bata. So, that's all. Thank you.
You. Yes, Dr. Mirasol.
Thank you, Mr. Senator. I also would like to respectfully request if there is a provision on encouraging children to read using their mother tongue, because it's beautiful to see children interacting using their mother tongue. It's awesome because I've been into many classrooms and it's like a noisy classroom, but it's a noisy and productive classroom. You see, we can really learn from them, especially if the teacher knows how to facilitate, no, how they manage the exchange of thought between the pupils or the students and the authors and among themselves, Mr. Senator.
Thank you for that suggestion. We'll take note of that, Dr. Mirasol. We'll call on. We have also other government agencies who are here with us. We'll call on another stakeholder, Attorney Ultado of Dito Telecommunity.
Good morning,
Yeah.
Mr. Good morning, Mr.
I think
Chair.
you're the only telco.
We are also
Smart
joined here by Smart. Mr.
Okay.
Chair.
All right. So, any comments? Because we also provided there some benefit on access, especially to digital materials. So, any comments on?
Yes, Mr. Chair. On behalf of Dito, I would like to express our full support to the proposed bill, and we are one with the government in fostering and promoting to the public the culture of reading, regardless of age, degree, and status. Mr. Chair, we just like to highlight Section 7 on the free public access to DepEd's online platforms. So, Mr. Chair, under this section, Mr. Chair, it requires public telecommunications entities or PTEs to provide free access to DepEd's online educational platforms, sites, and applications, and also to charge freely of in any download of data from these sites. So, Mr. Chair, upon our initial discussion with our technology team, particularly from our IT and our network team, we have a brief discussion on how can we implement this provision, Mr. Chair, and we were informed that this is feasible and we have the capabilities to implement this, Mr. Chair, either by configuring our present systems or developing or enhancing our facilities, products, and services, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Thank you for that. We'll call on Smart Communications, represented by Mr. Fernandez.
Uh, Good morning, Senator. Same with our colleague from dito, Mr. Senator. We refer to Section 7 on the free on no data charges. We support exactly what the intent of the proposed bill is, Your Honor. However, we are already working with DepEd on this and the portal, and we also have the free public Wi-Fi. So implementing this might collapse some security features that we have implemented over the net already. So on the TWG level, Senator, we might be able to discuss this in more detail without the need of including this already, because we feel po na this is already properly covered with the existing processes we have established with DepEd, Your Honor.
The access right now is limited to students, correct? And teachers. Tama
Uh,
ba?
Based on
What's
DepEd,
being, yeah,
protocols,
yeah,
Senator.
based on DepEd, your arrangement with DepEd right now.
It's the protocols of DepEd, Your Honor. They
Okay.
manage it. And also on the free public Wi-Fi, there's certain security protocols also implemented by the DICT. So if we can have a mix of both access and security, Your Honor, we might be better off with achieving the same results that we want with this, Your Honor.
But who are given access, free access to DepEd's materials
Uh,
right now? The arrangement.
I'm not so sure, Your Honor, but I think teachers and students are given that. After the launch of the portal of DepEd, the problem was not access but content. So now they're slowly curating and putting in more content into the digital libraries.
Yeah.
So we see a higher take up of the services. We thought before it was lack of signal or maybe the cost, but it was a lack of content. But that's, I think, being worked on aggressively already now,
Yeah,
Your
yeah.
Honor.
Well, we assume that DepEd will create digital libraries, no? And the intention of this section is to provide learners as well as teachers access to that digital library in line with in line with the intention of the bill, no? So that's the intention. I understand now it's being done. Is that correct?
Maybe on a TWG level, Your Honor, with the telcos can work with the ICT, NTC, DepEd, and your committee so that we can fine-tune what it is that you like. Baka hindi pa ho na-consider sa ngayon with existing protocols para maitahin na po
Can
natin
we
lahat.
expand that to the public? Let's say the public wants to access the digital library of DepEd. Can we extend free, no data charge to the public, only to limited to DepEd's digital library?
Maybe not directly as, maybe not as direct as no data charge, Your Honor, but there will be protocols like you have to be register so you can at least be identified in the system. Because any service po kasi, Your Honor, that you give for free with no
So you have
regulation,
to you have to register.
it will be
Okay.
abused, Your Honor.
Okay.
Like in public Wi-Fi, Your Honor,
You have to put your email.
marami pong nag-abuse. Yung the undesirable content was being downloaded already through those channels. So we agree with government that there should be some controls. But we discuss this lang in private because the more you discuss it in public, hindi mo pa na-implement po yung mga masasamang loob na unahan na po tayo.
Yeah.
So we will work with
Of course, the
NTC.
protocols will be included in the IRR, no? All of those details. But the concept, the general concept there is for DepEd's current learners and teachers, they will have access to the digital library for free, no data charge, meaning I don't know how technically that will be arranged, no? But if I, for example, I go to DepEd's website and then I download materials, so I interact with their materials, I won't be charged with data charge. We have a bill actually. It's the ARAL bill, no, the accessible academic recovery accessible learning bill, and we are very thankful to the telcos, to the PTEs, that they allowed that feature, no. But that's in the context of academic recovery. So, for example, a student is having a hard time studying and they need materials, they can access StepEd materials free of charge in terms of data charges. That same concept we want to embed here. But ito naman digital library, meaning whatever they upload in their digital library, students can just access that without any data charge. Is that possible? I'm sure technically that's possible, but will that be allowed by the telcos?
With the end result of the intent, Your Honor, we agree that can be done. But we also, on the technical side, we have to balance cybersecurity with it. So we have to have a really good technical working group to, while we open the floodgates in so many ways, we will be able also to put in security measures also for the protection of our students, learners.
Yeah, yeah. Of course the technical side will put that in the IRR. We'll put some of that in the bill, but the details on, let's say, cybersecurity, ano niyan, that will put that in the IRR. But the concept is the concept amenable to the PTEs accessing the digital libraries of DepEd?
At the moment, Your Honor, I think not so direct as no data charges, but that can be achieved through other ways that we can explore.
Like how?
We can use the portal of DepEd, Your Honor, so that there will be security checks for both content and access.
Okay.
Because what we fear, Your Honor, is anything we give kasi for free, even our own portals, Your Honor, are always bombarded by attacks and abuse. So if we also would want to give a level of security for our students and teachers who will be involved in this program, Your Honor.
But free, okay kayo for free. Yun naman importante, for free.
Free on data charges, Your Honor.
That's the most important.
It's kind of difficult to implement on a global network global thing. But if for select users with targeted content and a portal, we can find ways and means to do that
Sige.
with the current
Why
infrastructure.
don't you clear it first with your management?
Yes, Your Honor.
Because in the aral, can you flash the aral? Yung sa aral bill, the PTEs agreed and graciously agreed to give free access. But that's, again, that the direction there is academic recovery. Ito naman is reading. So different context directions.
Yes, Your Honor. I'm sure we also have the same security concerns. I might just be more vocal now on that. But
Yeah.
definitely, we will work with you on this, Your Honor.
Yes, Attorney Hurtado.
Yes, Mr. Chair. In addition to what our colleague from SMART explained regarding cybersecurity, Mr. Chair, we have this called whitelisting. So this whitelisting gives you either, it can be used as a feature for blocking certain sites, and in a similar manner, it can be used also to give you free access to specific sites. So there's a possibility to provide this or to implement this free access for DepEd's online platforms, provided that they can provide us the links, Mr. Chair.
I'm flashing on the screen a provision from the Aral bill, and this was a product between the PTEs and the committee and NTC, of course. If you look at the language, it's broad but technical. No? And let me just read it. Public telecommunications entity shall provide free access to all DepEd exclusively hosted learning management system applications with a static and public internet protocol address. No? The learning management system applications shall include web-based applications, online educational platforms, digital libraries, and other online knowledge, go down pa, hubs exclusively hosted by DepEd. No data charges shall also be incurred in the data download from and uploaded to these applications. So this is academic recovery, no? So because when we were discussing this, some materials we need to give it to our students, no? We need to give it to our teachers. So this is where this provision will now come in. But now we're promoting reading. So what we want is access to a vast, a vast content of materials or reading materials from DepEd's digital library. So that's the direction of this bill. What we actually plan to do is to copy paste this provision and just tweak it so that it will capture the essence of this proposal. Is that amenable to you guys, or do you need to clear it first with your management?
Senator, on that note, I think we're on the same page on that. If the implementation would be via the DepEd portal, I don't think that will be a problem,
Okay,
Your Honor.
all right. Sige. Yeah, that language came from the PTEs.
Yes,
We just adopted it. All
You know
right.
naman, Your Honor, so many engineers have different languages.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that. And we go to NTC,
And
engineer.
then, Your Honor,
Yeah, go ahead, sir.
may I just give some personal inputs? I feel so small here among all the doctors. I used to be a student librarian, and in my going around the country, I've been exposed to some reading activities I leave out the libraries, the materials, because we have lots of those already. What fascinated me, Your Honor, was there was this small gazebo-like structure in the plaza of Naga City. And then there's also this, what they call dapay. In the middle of the rice fields, they carved out some uh, soil-based amphitheater, and then there was hut in the middle. And then in Agusan del Norte, there was a town there, and in Polillo Island, they had those places. I thought what I was wondering what they were for. They were actually used to meet children in the communities, Your Honor. For in Polillo Island, they call it Sabayang Pagbasa. So on weekends or weekdays, the children in the park, someone will just go from the library and then hand them out, and they do simultaneous reading. It was difficult for me to understand what sabayang pagbasa mean. So they had the use of the local language with the proper intonation. And when I went to Sagada, the same thing. They could not communicate very well in Tagalog, but they had perfect English. One of the students said, "Sir, uh, you are correct. We corrected our teacher last time because they said pronunciation. It is not. It is pronunciation." Sabi ko, from a 7-year-old kid. So I think, Senator, with the Reading Association of the Philippines, if we have these small venues, even in parks, and then meron pong sigurong mga awareness, and then some volunteers, it would probably work as an interest in generating activity. In Smart naman po, we had our own small way of doing this. Every year, we have a CSR project with certain orphanages and small children's schools, and we volunteer to do reading with them. We're so fascinated because we thought we are eloquent speakers and good readers already, but we're poor in storytelling. So every year that we do that, uh, we are improving our skills po in storytelling and reading aloud, which is very different from reading silently on your own. So right now, Your Honor, we're continuing that, but it's on a voluntary basis. We're amazed also with the number of people who actually volunteer from the employee list of SMART. So we're continuing that. It's a small CSR thing, but it works. Of course, we bring konting food na rin po, Senator, when we do some sessions with the kids. Yun lang po. Maraming salamat,
Thank you.
Senator.
Thank you for that information. Well, we encourage corporations, NGOs, institutions on their own to promote the culture of reading. We can make it pronounced in the bill, no? But it should not be only DepEd. No? Everyone has a role. That's why we also want to include the DILG, no, Dr. Heidi, because local governments play a huge role in terms of promoting reading. No? All of those things that you saw, most likely it's LGU funded. No? So it should not be left to DepEd alone, but the LGUs play a very significant role because they have they have funding. No? They have the funding to spare. And then second, corporations should be encouraged, NGOs should be encouraged on their own. Reading should not be, should not be for a large group of pupils, of large group of children. It can be small community or barangay based, and that will go a long way. So that's what we plan to do here. It's not only the reading, but getting everyone involved. Yeah. All right. So we call on NTC, Engineer Lee. Any comments?
A pleasant morning to our honorable Honorable Senator Gatchalian. We would like to thank the Honorable Gatchalian for inviting the National Telecommunications Commission to participate on the public hearing of this Senate Bill number 475, known as the National Reading Month Act. We generally, NTC supports the measure of the introduction of this bill, and we will participate on the deliberation of the bill after its consideration. We will give our position on the Bill Section 7 of this bill. Um, may we recommend, sir. Sir, may we respectfully request that a definition of terms may be considered in this bill uh, uh, to better understand the scope of it, like subscribers, who are the subscribers? Are these the basic education like the primary or tertiary students, including the teachers? And with regards to PTE, do we consider, because we have lots of public telecommunications entities who are authorized by the NTC. So are we going to consider only the mobile network operators? So we are requesting for the definition of terms being used in this bill. Also, in line number 25, may we request to include, can I read the whole paragraph? PTEs refer to entities that are duly authorized by the National Telecommunications Commission to offer voice, short messaging system, or text, mobile data, or any mobile telecommunication services to the public for a fee. We just strike out the value-added services and include the National Telecommunications Commission, sir. Uh, that's all, Your Honor, for today.
Thank you. We'll request a representative during the technical working group so that all of these technicalities, we can iron it out there. Admittedly, we're not very well versed in the telecommunication technical terms.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We'll call on Attorney Baraan of DBM.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Chair and everyone. So for this bill, we have at least 3 comments po. On the funding requirements, we note that the existing projects and activities of the agencies concerned are funded under the GAA and as well as in the 2024 NEP, and the same shall be subject to the usual budget process. And we defer to the LGUs on their respective funds po, on the availability of funds for LGUs. And then we encourage the agencies to take note of our program convergence budgeting, every budget preparation, to have a holistic approach po on this endeavor in the implementation, and to avoid double funding of similar programs, activities, and projects. And lastly, on the rules, we also have an existing policies on donation and on our digital efforts. So we also remind po the agencies on that policies. Thank you po, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, thank you. And lastly, Attorney Gakutan of the DOF.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. The Department of Finance recognize the noble objective of the proposed legislation insofar as the tax provision found in Section 8, Your Honor, we pose no objection, considering that it is aligned with the tax code, Your Honor. However, on the suggestion, Your Honor, of our colleague from Philbooks, I will relay that matter, Your Honor, given that I have already heard that today, Your Honor, the proposal on the tax exemption of the sales of the reading materials during the National Reading Month, Your Honor. Nevertheless, we would like to, as early as now, express our reservation considering that considering the tax, the revenue implication of this possible tax exemption, Your Honor.
But as well as administration, because
Yes, Your Honor.
I am trying to visualize how you operationalize a tax exemption for a particular month?
Maybe we should, as a suggestion, Your Honor, we should also invite our colleagues from BIR on this, if just in case, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for that. We have exhausted all our resource persons. I want to go back to the DepEd, and this is in line with Dr. Mirasol's comment. In your activity, Director Ariola, for the National Reading Month, do you use what language do you use when you um, do all these activities for the National Reading Month?
Mr. Chair, aside from English and Filipino, we also encourage the use of storybooks using the mother tongue of the kids,
Okay.
because we've got a lot of storybooks in the different languages.
And then, do they use English as well?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Okay, so English, Filipino,
English, Filipino, and the mother
and the
tongue.
mother
Mr.
tongue.
Chair.
Okay. I'm reading the DepEd order. There's no explicit instruction on what language to use. Am
None,
I
Mr.
correct?
Chair. However,
So
they,
we leave it to the school to choose what language. Is that how this is being implemented?
yes, Mr. Chair. For Key Stage 1, Mr. Chair, they can make use of the mother tongue, the language that they understand, and the language that they know. They can make use of Filipino. If they want to have it in English, then that's all we also have available materials.
Whose decision to, for example, again, no, this is for discussion purposes. Whose decision will it be to use what language at the school level? No? Because I'm visualizing when we enact this law, this will be implemented at the school level. Majority of the activities will be at the school level. Will the principals be empowered to choose? Okay, English tayo. We'll read in English first week, then we'll read in Filipino second week, and we'll read in our mother tongue, assuming monolingualing area nila. No, will that be the principal's decision? How I'm trying to visualize what type of activities are being done on the ground, no, in our schools.
Mr. Chair, if it's going to be leisure reading on the part of the kids, then they can just choose the book that they want. All this, some materials are made available. That's why there's such a thing as we flood them with books so that they can just choose the book they want. However, if, for example, in their English class, then it has to be a storybook in English that needs to be read. If it were Filipino, then it's going to be Filipino. If it's leisure, then they're open to choose which among those books or language would they wish to use, Mr. Chair.
So it's a decision of the school.
Not
Principal,
necessarily the school, Mr. Chair. It can be the learner.
the learner.
Yeah, it can
Okay.
be the learner.
So whatever the interest of the learner.
Yes.
Okay.
But of course, we have to expose them also in storybooks with the using English or Filipino, provided that they understand that.
Mr. Chair, if I may add,
Yes, go ahead.
just to support Ma'am Lila's what Ma'am Lila is saying. Actually, it depends on the program. If it's within the curricular program, meaning if it's if the reading activity is done in any of the subjects, like Filipino or English, then definitely the MOI of that particular subject should be used in the reading activity. However, if we're talking about the recreatory reading program, okay, which is another program that many schools are actually implementing, like even in PNU, we're also doing that. If it's recreatory reading program, it's actually student centered, wherein it's the learner who would be choosing the books and the reading materials that they would be reading, regardless of the mother tongue, regardless of the language, regardless of the grade level, as long as they can read it. Okay, and then regardless of the material, in fact, they can pick up a comic book or a textbook or even just a flyer to read and to spend the reading time.
Long as they develop that habit of reading. Okay, so that is the intention. No, I want to enrich the records so that those who are interested in this bill will have a good idea on the discussions that went in the crafting of this bill. Yeah, go ahead, Doc.
Mr. Chair, if I may add, that's the very reason why I mentioned a while back of the need to institutionalize or to come up with establish more library hubs so that there would be more storybooks available to our schools.
I think that's DepEd's that project has been an ongoing project, no?
Yes.
DepEd.
That started actually in 2011, Mr. Chair, and we're trying to revive that.
Are all LGUs do all LGUs have library hubs?
None as of this time, Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
So
What's the number right now?
sorry, Mr. Chair, I don't have the number.
Yeah.
But in 2024, we're looking forward to constructing something like 72 more library hubs
Okay.
in divisions where there are no existing library hubs yet.
Okay. And the library hubs are managed by DepEd or the LGUs?
Yes.
Or both?
It's managed by DepEd, but it can also be supported by the LGU. If I were to share you, Mr. Chair, how the library hub started, it was actually a partnership with that of DepEd and LGUs.
All right.
So there were cases, for example, in the division of Cagayan then, where there were no items for librarians, it was the LGU that provided actually the personnel to manage the library hubs. Thank you.
Right. Thank you. Any more comments on the measure? Any suggestions? Anything that yes, Mr. Espinosa.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. We would like to comment on how this particular bill relates to some of the things that we are currently working out with the Department of Education.
We recognize the presence of Senator Chisa Escudero, who's the chairman of our Higher Ed Committee. Thank you for your presence. Go ahead, Mr.
Good morning to Senator Chis. Brad. Okay, Mr. Chairman, we would like to raise some points of how this particular proposed bill relates with some of the issues that we are working on with DepEd. The other one is the first one is that DepEd now is currently exploring with private publishers the possibility of procuring the license to electronic counterparts of procured manuscript. Now, we have, I'm sure in several occasions, we have expressed our reservations on not only on the pricing, I think it remains to be negotiated, but also on the need of putting in place security measures, since there is the issue of protecting copyright here. If we are to give public access to the DepEd portal, I think there some be the guidelines to be developed should also consider this particular concern of the private publishers. And the second one, Mr. Chairman, that we would like to mention is that I believe the Department of Education has a formula for determining the number of textbooks of SLRs that may be purchased for library hubs. I think in light of the discussions just now, I suggest maybe that the Department of Education may review that formula.
The number of books?
The number of textbooks or supplementary learning materials that DepEd intends to purchase for each of the library hubs.
Yes, yeah.
That's all, Mr. Chairman.
I remember I think in Valenzuela, we consolidated the library hub to our city library, and Sorsogon just recently put up their own Korean style. Nakita ko, Korean style yun eh. Korean style library. I think that's the most modern and the most beautiful library in the whole Philippines. And the latest addition to the inventory of libraries in our country. Have you been there? The National Library? Oo, dapat pumunta kayo sa Sorsogon. Kayo naman, kayo ang nagpo-promote ng library. I saw pictures. It's beautiful. No?
Sayang, dito na rin lang naman ako win. May I ask, Mr. Espinosa, isn't there an exemption with respect to the copyright laws and rules when it comes to educational purposes? If I remember my law correctly, there is.
Mr. Senator, I'm not really too familiar with the as I am not a lawyer, but I think the process of how the private publishers work, our dynamics with the Department of Education and how we support the delivery of basic education is enshrined in RA 8047. Now, I believe that the issue of copyright and this was a hot issue during the pandemic when the Department of Education teachers decided to adapt or make use of segments or material from already existing books. I don't know really how it was settled. I think there was DepEd was saying that it's covered by fair use. Fair use. But I don't
Fair
think,
use also for educational purposes. As far as I recall, that is an exemption to the copyright laws and rules. And just to be sure, may I advise DepEd, tuwing may tatanggapin kayong libro na sinulat ng private na writer, then include in the contract, part of your purchase of X number of copies would be the ability and power to reproduce it virtually in your sites or virtually in whatever shape, size, or form. Otherwise, don't buy a book from him or her. Di ba? Para protected na rin kayo. Hindi lang fair use yung ginagamit natin, hindi lang exception sa copyright law, but also part of the contractual na siya, na you can publish it anywhere you deem fit for educational purposes. Again. Ma'am, is that possible, Director Oriola?
Good morning, Senator Cheese. Yes, that's actually the direction of the Department of Education. That's actually one among the commitments of DepEd in the Matatag Agenda, where we will be using digitized forms of books, Mr. Chair.
While I'm on the subject, Mr. Chair, one last point before I leave and attend the other hearing. The pandemic taught us a lot of things, but we haven't pursued really the opportunities and learnings we had during the pandemic. One of them would be yung ano yung ginagawa ng ABS doon, yung yung ano parang telearalan using TV. TV. Yes, ma'am, but what's stifling it is your desire to make it live, satellite, internet connection. A private foundation did that using tapes, which gets the need for internet connection, removes the need for internet connection immediately. Now, I found that very useful because at least, without taking anything away from anyone, only selected subjects. At least, ma'am, yung pronunciation, pag English yung tinuturong subject, tama, pareho, at consistent. Hindi po ba? Hindi naman sa lahat ng subject eh. Certain difficult subjects, tama, consistent, at pareho. During the pandemic, what we tried to do that. Na walang face-to-face, but we found it impossible and DepEd never gave us anything in connection with what we needed, which is 8 subjects ng grade 1 hanggang grade 6. Diba? 8 subjects din ng first year high school hanggang presumably senior high. So that's 12 times 8. 96? Tama ba? Hindi. 10. Tama, di ba? Tama ba? 96. So you're talking 96 different subjects na ilalagay namin sa isang channel na pag-aari ng probinsya ng local government unit. We asked help from DepEd at that time to provide us with the material and the scheduling. Kasi kung gawin mo isang oras kada isa, that's 96 hours, which is impossible. Di ba? So, but the pandemic has been over for quite some time, but that option should still be pursued by DepEd. Hindi ba na in case mangyari ulito o may lugar na may pandemic o may lugar na may kalamidad, at least magpatuloy yung pag-aaral ng mga bata kahit sa evacuation center kung may TV sila. Tapos, I mean, Was this ever pursued by DepEd? Yes, ma'am, please.
Mr. Chair, my answer is yes. Learning, of course, from the pandemic, we had the DepEd TV. However, because we did not subscribe anymore, so what we did was to convert the DepEd TV episodes to MP4 format so that this can already be viewed offline. And now we're working on DepEd teachers and DepEd mentors, and it's the same thing that you're mentioning, Senator. So there's going to be micro lessons that will be provided to kids. This can be used actually for example, during calamities where there's suspension of classes. So it's going to support even our alternative delivery mode. So that's our direction, Mr. Chair. We're now working on a number of videos, micro videos, not just for learners but also for teachers.
Thank you very much for that, ma'am. I appreciate it and I hope DepEd will pursue this at the soonest possible time. Yung anak ko hanggang ngayon na nag-aaral sa Xavier, once a week pa rin sila virtual. It saves on new classrooms, it saves on teachers, and it saves on a lot of things, which DepEd can consider too in certain grade levels for certain subjects. Again, to avoid the need for classrooms in areas where it is sorely lacking. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I won't belabor the point. Reserve it for another time.
Yes.
Thank you, Director Ayala. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you, Senator Cheese. I remember during the pandemic, one thing I learned from UNICEF, use all modes, high-tech, low-tech, and no-tech. No-tech meaning teacher go there and teach the students in the barangay. So I think the point there being is let these modalities be available so that when things happen again, at least we're ready to use it. Yeah. I think that's the point being. Thank you, Senator Cheese, for participating. Any more last words or any more suggestion? This will be the next step will be a technical working group. Obviously, that we're all the technicalities will come up there. We're just talking about concepts here. And then later on, we'll invite everyone again to participate in the technical working group. So we'll call on Director Ariola and then Attorney Buhayin after.
Mr. Chair, actually, I sent an AVP where you could view some of the activities that we're doing during the Reading Month celebration. But I'd like to mention, I'd like to comment what was said a while back by Ma'am Mirasol of the need to do training of teachers. I'd like to mention that one of the activities that we include usually in the celebration of the National Reading Month is the conduct of training activities for our teachers, particularly in teaching reading. And she made mention about training, the importance of training our teachers in teaching reading. So we have science of reading training, and I hope that RAP can help us on this. And aside, of course, from training our K-3 teachers, we also have training on reading, particularly across teaching reading across content areas for our key stage 2 to 3 to 4 teachers also. But this is also an appeal to our TEIs na sana po we include teaching reading in the course, not just for teachers specializing in English or Filipino, but it should be for all grade level, it should be across grade level, across learning areas, because even an aralin panlipunan na science teacher need to be a reading teacher, and I really wish to see that in the course of the teacher education institutions.
That's a whole new,
If I may.
whole big topic that we can discuss for a long time.
Yes.
I think that's part of the Teacher Education
And with
Council.
EDCOM too, Mr. Chair, I hope that
Yeah,
you can,
well,
you
Dr.
can
Therese
help
is
us.
here who represents EDCOM. But one of the quick reforms that we enacted here is the strengthening of the Teacher Education Council.
Yes.
No? That's really the body that can push for this type of reforms.
So,
yeah.
Mr. Chair, we have the EVP.
Yeah, before we play that, we'll call on
Yeah.
Attorney Buhayin, and then after that, we can play the
Can I just
EVP.
thank you, Senator. Based on the exchanges, it would appear, Senator, that there's no clear-cut pronouncement as yet on what should be utilized as a language of instruction. And it would appear that it would be dependent on the learner's capability to, to easily comprehend what is being pronounced, etc., or what's being read. And in other words, it depends a lot on the learner's capability to make a choice on which language, on which material based on several languages to be adopted. So that's what I would like to, elicit from the body. Yes.
Yes, that's correct. Because what we're after is to develop that habit of reading. If a learner is interested in, let's say, learning Korean or reading Korean, then so be it. No, so be it. So the bill aims not to be too technical, no, because it's really just commemorating or celebrating the month of reading, so that there is a specific month wherein everyone is promoting the culture of reading or the habit of reading. No? So that's really the general direction. So we intentionally we didn't make it very technical so that there's a lot of flexibility involved. No? All right, so we can play the video, Secretariat. Volume, put the volume. The volume and
Mr. Chair, while waiting, if I may share, last year the choice of the choice of language that the VP made use as a reading ambassador was Sinubuang Binisaya.
A world without books is a world without knowledge. Young and old, past and future. In times of uncertainties and ambiguities, books have the answers. In times when technology abounds, books hold the key, unlocking the future of our young generation. Across the globe, across the 100 islands of our nation, reading is a timeless wonder. And so, for this month of November, celebrate the National Reading Month and rekindle our genuine love for reading and improve the literacy rate of our country. Teachers, guiding our young ones to develop their reading skills. Learners, inspiring their peers to enjoy reading. Parents, encouraging their children to make reading a habit. And more so, communities, empowering every Filipino to become literate. All these truly show why reading is of paramount importance. In schools, we find reading corners, libraries filled with infinite treasures of knowledge. At homes, we find parents, siblings, guardians, seizing the golden opportunity. For all time spent in reading is a time well spent. And in the communities, we find support from our various stakeholders. For the foundation of every strong nation lies on its people. People who can speak, read and write well. People who can think critically. People who are multiliterate, multilingual, and multicultural citizens. For this year's National Reading Month, let's keep promoting our love for reading, having our learners amazed by mystery readers, graced by our reading ambassadors. The Dugtungang Pagbasa, which showcases our interpretative reading skills. The Reading Cup, which is a gamified regional reading contest through Reading Progress. The Reading Family, where every family spend a quality time as they read together. The Book Drive, that allows advocates of reading to generously share our book collections. All these certainly continue to inspire us and inspire other kids to be a book buddy, strengthening bond among learners as they read to their friends and classmates in the reading pantry and reading kiosk, and get to enjoy a book talk, sustaining our drop everything and read episodes. through a readathon and reading challenge to pick the curiosity of our learners. DepEd envisions that with these fun reading activities ultimately leading to the transformation of our society, where our nation's future is in the hands of our good readers.
Thank you for that, Department of Education, and to Director Ariola. So thank you very much for your time and participation for today. And the next step will be a technical working group. And hopefully before we start the technical working group next week, we can receive your position paper so that we can incorporate some of your concepts in the draft bill. So maraming salamat po. Thank you very much. This hearing is hereby adjourned. Thank you.